So we're back again talking about the essential training integrated components. So the first thing again, which is huge, which I talked earlier about, is client education. Client education can mean simply what you're going to do, how you're going to help the client. Maybe they don't understand what is spinal stenosis or a rotator cuff impingement, or they may not know what exercises to work on a certain area of a body. So clinic education can be all-encompassing when we think about that. That's probably the most important thing that I'd say is important for you out there reading this manual and go through this course, and myself as a therapist, that I teach my patients, they understand what we're going to do and why. It reinforces the why, it develops trust, most importantly, gets results. And I think that's huge. When we talk about program design again is based on periodization principles. When we talk about designing a program, we're talking about how long has the client been working out. If they've been working out for a while, then we know that that client has a foundation, just like in a building. If they haven't worked out for a while, then their foundation is very weak. So we need to start slow, 1 set of 10. We need to work on building that volume up. So based on the client's history, based on the client's goal, based on their how they're functioning, how they do the fitness assessment, really should dictate you out there a plan of how to set up the program. Always beginning with hypertrophy endurance, going through strength phase, and if they're an athlete, power accordingly. Knowing the reps, sets, rest periods is critical, which I can't reinforce. That's in the manual, please review it and understand those concepts. I think it's really important. Selective exercise, as I mentioned before. Selective exercise is important because if someone has goals that are specific to weight loss, you want to target exercise that works, say for example the hips, that would be the glutes, through lunges, through reverse lunges, through multi-directional exercises, even circuit training that encompasses that lower body. If someone has specific goals when it comes to just general upper body strength, that could be obviously chest press, that could be shoulder work, shoulder press, side raises. If they have an injury, you know, we all have clients and my patients have an injury to their shoulder, and they have a rotator cuff repair. Understanding the pathophysiology, which we'll be talking later on today, about that injury. What to do, what not to do, understanding it, understand the physics behind the exercises, and what to do based on the load and what it can do biomechanically to that area, which I would really want to stress is huge. When we talk about exercise as well, so we want to think about reps, sets, rest periods, and most importantly, what is it going to do in the bigger picture for them as well. Neuromuscular training, again, simply put, is providing the body with the biomechanical control from the agonist-antagonist point of view. So for example, someone has an ACL repair and they're still working in control, so going downstairs. They need control in their quads and control from the hamstrings. The quadriceps are weaker, but the hamstrings need to be strengthened and help decelerate on the aspect from slowing down to go towards a ball. But going down a stair, the quads need to work, decelerate on the stairs. So what I'm trying to say is they need work on the front and back. Neck and exercises such as single leg stance, single leg or three-point touch, catching a ball, things that create co-contraction on the joint. Very, very important. I can't stop off. When we talk about neuromuscular training as well, we're talking about what's inside the joint. And when we talk about inside the joint, we're talking about also things like mechanoreceptors. And mechanoreceptors, which are muscle receptors inside the joint, that's inside between the bones. We have muscle mechanoreceptors. We also have joint receptors, and we have ligament receptors. Receptors, remember, send information from the joint to the brain. The brain's going to get information. They're going to process it, and it's going to give us feedback where we are in space, what's going on. So it's that sensory input, motor output per se. And that leads me to the next thing is proprioception and kinesthesia. You can see in the manual when someone is talking about proprioception is knowing where they are in space, whereas kinesthesia is knowing where a limb is moving in space. So if you're having someone do a dynamic exercise and then doing something like diagonal where they have to do a compound or something together with a bicep curl and a reverse lunge, they need to know and make sure you understand they have an idea proprioceptively where they are, and kinesthesia how they're moving. So simple things like static exercises in place, beginning statically first on the ground, before doing something like on a wobble board or a half roll or a Dynadisc or a yoga ball or a Bosu ball is pivotal, because dynamically it's going to be more challenging to the brain, nervous system. The nervous system is going to regulate that, connect with the musculoskeletal system. It's going to be more challenging. Hope that makes sense out there. And then finally, this last section before we talk about the next area is balance. Balance is considered or regulated by the ears, eyes, and feet. So if someone has balance issues, we need to know where is the issue. Maybe they have an inner ear problem. You need to find out what that pathophysiology. Do they have Meniere's? Do they have a history of vertigo? Do they have some histories of tinnitus or ringing in their ears? Do they have diabetes? Diabetes, which affects the feet. They might have that feeling. Are they checking their insulin? Are they checking their skin, make sure that feels thing is correct? And again, we talk about the visual. So it all is encompassing, and we can change that through training. And training meaning motor learning. And motor learning means basically working on the cognitive phase, which is doing something to make common mistakes initially. As you practice it, it becomes easier through the associative phase, and then it becomes automatic. So for example, touching your single leg touch like this, that is very difficult to do in the first time. But if someone practices it and you teach them to contract their abdominals, their thigh, and practicing and showing what to do, they'll be able to do that according to time. All right? The next section we'll talk about continuing integrative training principles.